So here's the thing. Did I upload a video when I was supposed to last week? No, I did not. I was surprisingly out of my house, being social and doing things with my life. It's a very rare occurrence, and it won't happen again for probably a really long time. I am a chronic hermit. But anyways, here's what's happened since we last spoke. So I you know how I've been working on the Cloud Jumper duology, Stormlines, and Cloudburst, and I've been doing all my planning and all of this stuff or whatever. Okay, well, I have been being productive, although that I haven't actually been filming, and I've gotten pretty much the entire thing plotted. Well, the first book, not sort of the second book, but like there's still some holes. But anyways, I've pretty much got all of Stormlines plotted. I am ready to start drafting Stormlines. Here's the thing, my ADHD brain has striked again, because do you guys remember whenever I was not writing actively, like writing and drafting on Soul Resonance, in that like time in like December and like January, November-ish a little bit, when I was just like, I'm taking a break from the book, I'm like walking away from it, like whatever, right? Well, and you guys know, in the beginning of February, I finished draft 3 and I sent the book off to my sisters and a couple friends of mine to read it, to give me like feedback and stuff before I started on draft 4, you know, like a beta read kind of situation or whatever. And since then, I've been working on Stormlines, which is totally fine. That's usually how I operate. The problem is I have come up with, based on feedback I got from my beta readers, some deliciously beautiful ideas for Grimborn that I cannot stop thinking about. Like, I'm literally like waking up in the middle of the night, like thinking about these. And I've decided that I'm going back into Grimborn. And I'm gonna go start writing it again. I'm not gonna work on the whole book because I've only gotten beta read chapters for the first like half. The book's like kind of set in 2 halves, like pre bonding and then post bonding. So I'm gonna work on the earlier chapters right now where I've gotten a lot of feedback and stuff, and I'm gonna work on those. And then in theory, by the time I'm done with those, I will have the feedback and stuff for this latter half of the book, the second half of the book, and we'll be able to go work on that part. Okay, but on to my ideas, because you know I'm gonna tell you. So, you know, it's like a school for Grim Reapers, and one of the things is like with the Grim Reapers, like ferrying souls into the afterlife, like there's a big play in the 7 deadly sins in the book, and the 7 deadly sins present as like shades and wraiths, mostly shades, that like latch onto a spirit or a soul of someone that's like passed away, because they like committed that sin, and it prevents them from like going to heaven, going to the afterlife or whatever, and it like keeps them shackled like here to the mortal plane, and then they like corrupt other people, like blah, blah. Basically it's kind of like a malevolent spirit kind of thing, okay? But the way that I have it written in the book right now is that those shades are just like, they're kind of like just like the shadows, you know, like little smoky hazy shadows, and they all kind of look the same, and defeating them to free the like spirit is all kind of like the same process. And I've really been thinking about that a lot, because I was like, it's hard to tell in the reader's sense, but also in world, in the character sense, like what shade is what sin. Because whenever the shades are dispersed, the reapers like absorb those emotions of that shade, and if they don't like basically process out like therapy style those emotions, then they will like, it's called in the book overloading, and it's basically like it kills them, okay? And so I was like, one of the things I've really been struggling with is like how to distinguish between the shades, so like the sins, especially in terms of the shades, so that the reapers know, like, or the Grimborn and the reapers know, like, okay, we're dealing with envy, we're dealing with pride, and they can then be better equipped to help the reapers not overload. So here's my idea that I've come up with. Each shade needs to take a different form on a different spirit, so you can tell by kind of like looking at it, like what you're dealing with. So like, for example, for pride, I'm thinking pride is going to be like I'm going to call it like pride, the gilded crown, or something like that. Maybe like the thorny crown. I haven't decided exactly what it is, but it's going to be basically by the name. You can tell it's going to be a crown. Okay. And so think of it like a crown of thorns, or something like that, like on the spirit's head, and like the thorns, or maybe they're like spikes or something like that, that's like digging into the skull area of the spirit. Okay. Like latching on like parasitically to their head. Okay. And that's how the pride shade looks. And then in order to remove the pride shade and help that soul in the afterlife, the Grim Reapers have to like cut it off that person's head, but they can't nick or injure the spirit or soul in any way, because if they do, then that damages the spirit, and then that spirit can't go to the afterlife. Okay. They go to like spirit purgatory or something. Okay. Right? Clever. I knew you think it was clever. And then so that's kind of my like thought with that. Like wrath is going to be like coals, like ember coals, like in the belly, solar plexus area of the body of the spirit. And those ones, those are just going to be like, those are spirits that are just like washed. Like they're really hard to fight because like they're wrathful and they're angry. Like they're really, really challenging spirits and shades to deal with. But you cannot safely remove that like shade from the soul because it's inside it. So those spirits, like you're just gonna have to like basically kill the spirit, and they're just gonna be that's a loss. Like that's a loss of, you know, life or whatever there with that, with the wrath. But and then so there's that, and that I'm like thinking about with the shades and stuff that I'm like really excited about. And I've also been, one of the feedback things that I got from my beta readers was the way that the classes were set up didn't really feel like college classes. Like they still felt very like high schooly. And so I've really been like working on how to level up these classes, right? But I still need a lot of that like world building that's going into the book right now to really establish things that like the reader doesn't know, like what is a Grimborn, what is a Reaper, and those kind of things, but like not having those be like the classes. Like we can't have a lecture hall in college that's like, what is a Reaper? Because that's bizarre, right? So I've been working on like figuring out what I'm going to do with that, and I've come up with some ideas for different things to do in classes that like I had the idea of before, but I had like just tabled the idea. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I've been thinking about it more lately. So I think I've come up with a good plan of it. Like for example, a sloth shade can basically make a Reaper like comatose, like a living death kind of situation, because it's sloth. And so the Grimborn are taught in their School of Healing classes, they're taught like grounding exercises and like awakening mantras or something like that to help the Reapers, help the Grimborn themselves not like succumb to the emotions of that shade, but then also help the Reapers in the event of like sloth affecting them, that they can like wake up, you know, because sloth can be super deadly, because if they're like living death, like comatose as a Reaper, and they have all these emotions in them, like they can very easily overload because they can't like process it out because they're in a coma, you know? So the Grimborns really have to like work to help them, you know, anyways, work to help them like wake up and stuff so they can process it out. And so those are a lot of my ideas and things. I'm really excited about that. I'm also reworking the entrance exam because I've gotten some feedback about it that it's a little odd. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna like fiddle with that. But I'm so excited. I also did the math this morning because I was really curious of what, like, okay, so I'm at 80,122 words in this manuscript right now, and this is like draft 3, so I'm starting draft 4. I'm not rewriting the whole draft. I know we talked about it before that I like really love just rewriting the whole fucking thing. I'm not gonna rewrite the whole thing right now. I think I'm just gonna go in and do some more like line style edits and like adding stuff into the existing document. I may go and like rewrite the whole thing later, like when I have the full like beta read feedback like back. I might rewrite it then, but right now I'm not gonna do that right now. But anyways, I did like I was curious. I was like, because my goal is 100,000 words with this manuscript. That's what I want it to be when it's like done, it's completed. 100,000 words or over, I guess. So and I'm not great at math, so my numbers can be wrong, but according to my calculations, if I add 500 words minimum, it's like 2 paragraphs to every single chapter in all like 32 chapters that I have in this book, I will break 100,000 words. And I was like, 500 words, 2 paragraphs, cakewalk. That's so easy. The other thing that I got that I'm also gonna do is I got some feedback from my beta readers that Talon specifically, he is not, what is the word that they used? He's not giving Rhysand. If you've read ACOTAR, you understand what Rhysand is like. And they're like, you have the threads of the story there to set him up to be like, basically, not to like be Rhysand, but like to give Rhysand, when he's interacting with Feyre, energy. Like Xaden when he's interacting with Violet, Graves when he's interacting with Kyrse. Like you have this like energy of the like broody, possessive, you're mine kind of like romantic-y man. You have the elements of that there, but I'm like literally apparently just like teetering on the edge of it. Like I'm not like taking the jump and it's like full Rhysand, like full send it. I'm just like teetering on the edge of it, and they're like full send it. We need him, because there's like a moment a couple times in the early book where like Kaida's talking to like another Reaper, and he's like, we should bond each other, and Talon's just like standing behind her, death glaring at this guy, and is like, stay the fuck away from my girl, despite the fact that Kaida like can't stand him. She thinks he's like the worst. She can't stand Talon, and Talon's like, so they're like full send it, like full send, and I was like, okay, I can. So I don't actually have a lot of time to write this morning. I do have to get ready to go to work soon, so we're gonna see how much we can write. It's 7:20 right now. I need to go start getting ready for work at like 8, so we have like 40 minutes. Let's see how much we can write in 40 minutes. Okay, so it's just about 8 o'clock right now. I managed to get about 400 words written in chapter 1. So, yay, great for me. But I have to go get ready for work now. My real money making job. But I will be back later this week, or at least this weekend. We'll write some more, and we'll see how far we get. Okay, I know what you're gonna say. Why do you have your Kindle out? I thought you weren't rewriting the entire book. I thought you were just doing inline edits this time, keeping the document the way it was. That was a lie. You see, here's what happened. I was working on my inline edits, and then I had an unbelievably brilliant idea. And I said, oh, well, this changes not everything, but like 40% of things in the book. The easiest way to put this in so that it's like smooth, like you don't want it to be like choppy. So when you read it, you're like, oh, you just shoehorned this in. In order to make it smooth, I'm gonna have to rewrite. I don't know, maybe that's insane of me to just be like, no, I have to rewrite the entire like 300-page manuscript just because I had an idea for something, and a very good one. Some authors may be able to just like cut a paragraph and rewrite it and it works. I am not one of those people.
I feel like rewriting is the only way that things work and make sense for me, which I understand is maybe crazy and gives me a lot of work. That's what we're doing. So anyways, my idea. In the beginning of the book, they go through, I think we talked about this before, they go through an entrance exam. Okay? And without giving away any spoilers, in the entrance exam, they get sorted into a room for the exam based on the sin they committed the most in their life prior to coming to the university. And so it's like one of the 7 deadly sins, they all get sorted into one of them. So Kaida, for example, gets sorted into pride, because Kaida is an obsessive teacher's pet with the inability to fail, ever. So Kaida gets sorted into pride, right? And my idea is, originally they were like sorted into these, and then I never like did anything with it. And my idea is that these sins that they're getting sorted into, by the end of the series, by the end of book 3, they're going to either have succeeded, like these sins are going to be like the starting point, the foreshadow for their whole character arc in the series. And by the end of the series, they're either going to have overcome this sin and defeated it, or succumbed to it and failed. So in the book, in the series, there's this like conspiracy and like secret organization, evil organization that gets found out and gets discovered. And at the end of the series, and Kaida becomes like obsessed with finding out the truth, who's running it, like red string on a corkboard, kind of like obsessed with it. And so by the end of the series, the question becomes, is Kaida's pride her downfall or her succession at the end of the series? And I want this for every character. The main 6, but like I have one for every single character in the book. And the main 6 is like, that's their character arc, that's part of their story. Like Tyrion gets sorted in sloth, and Althea goes to gluttony, Talent goes to wrath, Avara goes to avarice, and Care goes to envy, so it's like, and that's why I have to rewrite. So that's what we're doing. I started yesterday. I rewrote the prologue, and I'm working on chapter 1 right now. So we're gonna finish chapter 1 right now this morning, and then I have to go run some errands. So I'll probably spend most of today writing. I probably just won't film all of it. And yeah, let's go. Panda mug.
Okay, so I have my word counter. I updated it, so I used to have my word count goal as 80,000 because 80,000 was my goal for draft 3. So with this being draft 4, I've upped it. My goal is now 100,000 words. I haven't changed any of these numbers from draft 3 except the prologue here. This one is the prologue. We were at 474 with the prologue in draft 3, so now we're at 615 when I wrote it for draft 4. So now we're here for chapter 1. We were at 2751, and now with the rewrite, we are at 3421. Yay! Let's put that in. 3421. And let's see how that changes our totals. Okay, so this is our totals and things so far. So exciting. So we have chapter 1 done and we have the prologue done, and I'll probably write for the rest of the day, but I probably won't film it. And we'll check back in the next video to see where we're at.